On the evening of August 23, 2010, police officers forced their way into a top-floor flat in Pimlico, central London. Inside lived a brilliant mathematician, a man trusted with some of Britain's most sensitive intelligence. A codebreaker who had worked for GCHQ and was on secondment to MI6. He hadn't been seen for nearly 2 weeks. The apartment appeared almost untouched. The bed was neatly made. Dirty dishes sat in the sink. Nothing suggested a violent struggle. Then, officers entered the bathroom. Inside the bathtub, they found a large red North Face sports holdall. The bag had been zipped completely shut and secured with a small padlock. When investigators opened it, they made a discovery that would baffle detectives, forensic scientists, and intelligence experts for years to come. Curled tightly inside the bag was the decomposing body of 31-year-old Gareth Williams. There were no obvious signs of violence, no suicide note, no fingerprints on the outside of the bag. And perhaps most astonishingly, experts later struggled to explain how anyone could have locked themselves inside it. Had one of Britain's brightest codebreakers died during a bizarre accident? Was it murder? Or had someone staged one of the most perplexing crime scenes in modern British history? This is the mystery of Gareth Williams. Gareth Wyn Williams was born in Anglesey, North Wales, in 1978. From an early age, it was clear he possessed an extraordinary mind. He excelled at mathematics, showing an exceptional talent for solving complex problems. Friends described him as quiet, private, and intensely intelligent. He wasn't someone who sought attention. He preferred numbers, patterns, and puzzles. After graduating with a degree in mathematics from the University of Manchester, he joined the Government Communications Headquarters, better known as GCHQ, based primarily in Cheltenham. GCHQ is Britain's signals intelligence agency. Its work includes intercepting communications, breaking codes, countering cyber threats, and supporting national security operations. Within GCHQ, Williams quickly gained a reputation as an exceptional codebreaker. His mathematical ability made him a valuable asset. So valuable that in 2009, he was seconded to the Secret Intelligence Service, better known as MI6. Unlike fictional spies, Williams wasn't carrying hidden weapons or traveling under false identities. His expertise lay behind a computer screen. His job involved analyzing complex data, decrypting communications, and supporting intelligence operations that often remained classified. Much of his work has never been publicly disclosed. Even today, large parts of his role remain secret. During his assignment in London, Williams rented a flat in Alderney Street, just a short distance from MI6 headquarters at Vauxhall Cross. The location was convenient, secure, and close to work. He planned to return to Cheltenham after completing his secondment. Those who knew him described a disciplined routine. He cycled to work. He enjoyed running. He liked technology. He spent money carefully. He rarely socialized. And he kept much of his private life private. Yet investigators would later discover another side to Gareth. His computers contained searches for designer clothing, luxury shoes, women's fashion, and bondage-related material. Police also found expensive wigs and clothing in the flat. These discoveries quickly became headlines. Newspapers speculated about secret lifestyles, hidden identities, and unconventional interests. It's important to separate confirmed facts from speculation. Investigators did recover these items, but no evidence ever established that Gareth's personal interests were connected to his death. Nor did they prove he had committed any crime. In August 2010, Williams was nearing the end of his London posting. Colleagues expected him to return to GCHQ shortly. Everything appeared routine. Until he suddenly stopped coming to work. Initially, his absence wasn't treated as unusual. People working in intelligence sometimes disappear from the office for operational reasons. Sensitive assignments often require discretion, and colleagues may not always know each other's schedules. Days passed. Still, no one heard from Gareth. His mobile phone remained silent. Emails went unanswered. Family members couldn't reach him. Eventually, concern grew serious enough that police were asked to conduct a welfare check. They entered his flat on August 23rd. What they discovered would dominate headlines across Britain. The windows were locked. The front door showed no signs of forced entry. Nothing appeared to have been stolen. Cash, expensive watches, electronic devices, everything remained inside. Yet Gareth Williams, one of Britain's most gifted intelligence officers, was dead inside a locked sports bag, placed in his own bathtub. Almost immediately, investigators faced questions that seemed impossible to answer. If someone had murdered Gareth, how had they entered and left without leaving clear evidence? If Gareth had climbed into the bag himself, how had he managed to zip it shut, lock it, and leave no usable fingerprints behind? The answers would depend on one thing: the forensic evidence. And as scientists began examining the apartment, the mystery only became stranger. In Part 2, forensic experts attempt to recreate the impossible. A world-famous escape artist tests whether the bag could be locked from the inside. The post-mortem reveals disturbing details, and detectives begin investigating whether Gareth Williams died in a tragic accident or became the victim of one of Britain's most controversial unexplained deaths. As forensic investigators began processing Gareth Williams's flat, they expected the evidence to reveal what had happened. Instead, almost every new discovery raised another question. The sports holdall containing Gareth's body had been placed inside the bathtub. It was a large, bright red North Face bag, the type commonly used for travel or outdoor equipment. Its zipper had been pulled completely shut. A small padlock secured the zip pulls together. When officers examined the outside of the bag, they found something remarkable. No usable fingerprints. Not Gareth's, not anyone else's. The padlock also yielded no identifiable fingerprints. Investigators searched the bathroom. Again, very little. No evidence of a violent struggle. No obvious blood. No signs that someone had attempted to clean the room after a crime. The post-mortem examination added another layer of mystery. Because of the advanced decomposition, pathologists were unable to determine an exact cause of death. They could not conclusively say whether Gareth had been suffocated, poisoned, or killed by some other means. Nor could they identify injuries clearly indicating homicide. The medical findings were, in many respects, inconclusive. One detail did stand out. Experts estimated Gareth had likely been dead for around a week, possibly longer, before his body was discovered. During that time, no one had entered the flat. No one had reported hearing anything unusual, and his body remained inside the locked apartment. Attention quickly turned to the biggest question of all. Could Gareth have climbed into the bag, zipped it shut, locked it, and died accidentally? To answer that, police conducted a series of reconstruction experiments. Volunteers attempted to place themselves inside an identical bag. They tried closing the zipper from within, then locking it without assistance. None succeeded. Every participant failed. Some could close most of the zip, but were unable to reach the final section. Others managed the zipper, yet couldn't attach the padlock. The results suggested something disturbing. If those experiments reflected reality, someone else may have been present. The mystery attracted international attention. One of the people asked to examine the problem was renowned escape artist John Hoodie. Specializing in confined space escapes, he attempted to recreate the scenario using the same model of bag. After repeated efforts, he concluded that locking the bag from the inside would be extraordinarily difficult, if not effectively impossible under the same conditions. However, not every expert agreed. Some believed it might be achievable under very specific circumstances, using careful positioning and flexibility. Others argued that laboratory demonstrations could never perfectly recreate every possible movement Gareth might have made. The disagreement would become one of the central controversies of the entire case. Meanwhile, detectives examined Gareth's electronic devices. His computers, hard drives, and phones were analyzed in detail. No evidence emerged suggesting he planned to take his own life. There was no suicide note, no farewell message, no indication that he expected to die. Investigators also reviewed his financial records. His bank accounts showed nothing unusual. There were no unexplained cash withdrawals, no suspicious payments, no indication that he had been blackmailed. Despite this, newspapers became increasingly interested in Gareth's private life. Reports highlighted his interest in expensive women's designer clothing, luxury shoes, and online searches involving bondage and domination. These stories generated sensational headlines. Some suggested Gareth had died during a sexual experiment gone wrong. Others implied he had been living a hidden double life. But investigators never established a direct connection between those personal interests and the circumstances of his death. Having unusual interests is not evidence of murder, nor is it evidence of accidental death. The distinction is important. As public attention intensified, another possibility emerged. Could Gareth's work for GCHQ and MI6 have made him a target? Williams had access to highly sensitive intelligence. Although his exact assignments remain classified, it is publicly known that he worked on communications analysis involving national security. Some media outlets speculated about possible involvement by foreign intelligence agencies. Russia was frequently mentioned. So too were organized criminal groups. Yet, no publicly available evidence has ever linked any foreign government, spy agency, or criminal organization to Gareth's death. These theories remain exactly that, theories. The Metropolitan Police ultimately carried out one of the most extensive forensic examinations in recent British history. Thousands of exhibits were analyzed. Hundreds of witness statements were collected. Dozens of experts were consulted. And still, the central mystery remained unresolved. Then, in 2012, an inquest was held to examine Gareth Williams' death. Its findings would reignite debate across Britain. In Part 3, the coroner delivers a shocking conclusion. The Metropolitan Police strongly disagree. Every major theory is examined with the evidence supporting and contradicting it. And we ask the question that still divides investigators today. Did Gareth Williams die alone? Or did someone ensure the truth would never be discovered? As investigators searched for answers, one question overshadowed every other. Could Gareth Williams really have entered the bag, locked it from the inside, and died completely alone? To answer that, the Metropolitan Police brought in forensic specialists, crime scene analysts, and reconstruction experts. Their goal was simple: recreate the scene exactly as it had been found. The holdall was measured, its dimensions recorded, its zipper examined, the padlock tested repeatedly. Investigators even considered Gareth's height, weight, flexibility, and athletic ability. Volunteer after volunteer attempted to reproduce the sequence. First, climb into the bag. Next, pull the zipper completely closed. Finally, attach the padlock. None managed to complete all three steps under the same conditions. Some could almost close the zipper. Others managed to pull it shut, but couldn't secure the lock. The final stage consistently proved to be the most difficult. These experiments became one of the strongest arguments for those who believed Gareth had not been alone. If trained investigators, using unlimited time, couldn't reproduce the scene, how had Gareth supposedly done it by himself? Yet, not everyone accepted that conclusion. Some experts cautioned that reconstruction experiments have limitations. Human movement varies. A failed demonstration doesn't automatically prove something is impossible. Instead, it only shows that investigators couldn't reliably repeat it. This disagreement would become one of the defining features of the case. Two groups of qualified experts, looking at the same evidence, reaching different conclusions. Meanwhile, forensic scientists examined every corner of Gareth's flat. They searched for fingerprints, DNA, footwear impressions, fibers, signs of forced entry, anything that could identify another person. Surprisingly, the apartment was remarkably clean, not spotless, but largely free of the kind of evidence detectives normally expect after a violent crime. There were no overturned items, no broken furniture, no blood indicating an obvious assault, no signs that Gareth had desperately fought for his life. Investigators also analyzed Gareth's electronic devices. His laptop, external storage devices, mobile phones, internet history, emails, and work-related equipment, because Gareth worked in British intelligence. Much of this material was classified. Only limited details were ever released publicly. Officials stated there was no evidence Gareth had planned to disappear, no indication he intended to leave the country. No financial activity suggesting preparation for a new life. His bank accounts remained largely unchanged. His passport wasn't used after his disappearance, and no confirmed communications suggested he feared for his safety. Detectives also reconstructed Gareth's final known movements. CCTV footage showed him entering his apartment building during the weekend before his body was discovered. After that, there were no confirmed public sightings. Exactly what happened inside the flat, during those final hours, has never been established. Another mystery involved the apartment itself. The front door showed no evidence of being forced open. Windows were secured. Nothing appeared to have been stolen. If someone else had entered, how had they done so? Did Gareth willingly let someone inside? Did another person possess access? Or had investigators simply missed crucial evidence? To this day, there is no publicly confirmed answer. As media coverage intensified, the case became increasingly sensational. Some newspapers focused almost entirely on Gareth's private interests. Others concentrated on his intelligence work. Television documentaries debated everything from espionage to elaborate murder plots to tragic misadventure. But beneath all the speculation, the known facts changed very little. A highly intelligent GCHQ mathematician, working for MI6, was found dead inside a locked sports bag. The exact cause of death could not be determined. No one has ever been charged, and the central mystery remains unresolved. The next stage of the investigation would move from the laboratory to the courtroom. During the inquest, forensic scientists, police officers, independent experts, and the coroner would examine every major piece of evidence in public. And it was there that one official conclusion would clash directly with the Metropolitan Police's own interpretation of the case. In the next chapter, we'll examine the inquest in detail. The testimony that led the coroner to conclude Gareth was likely unlawfully killed, why police disagreed, and the evidence behind every major theory that continues to divide investigators today. On April 23, 2012, nearly 20 months after Gareth Williams' body was discovered, the inquest into his death began at Westminster Coroner's Court. For weeks, the court heard testimony from forensic scientists, police investigators, medical experts, and specialists in confined space escape. The goal was simple: to determine, as accurately as possible, how Gareth Williams died. The evidence presented painted a picture that was anything but simple. Experts explained that Gareth's body had been found in an advanced state of decomposition. This severely limited what pathologists could determine. There were no injuries that conclusively proved he had been assaulted, but equally, there was no medical evidence proving he had died accidentally. The precise cause of death remained unknown. Attention quickly returned to the sports bag. Jurors heard about the reconstruction experiments. Police officers described repeated attempts to recreate the scene. Independent experts gave their own opinions. Some believed it was effectively impossible for Gareth to have locked himself inside. Others argued that while extremely difficult, it could not be ruled out completely. The courtroom was left with two competing possibilities. Either Gareth had achieved something that almost nobody else could replicate, or someone else had been present in the flat. The coroner also examined Gareth's lifestyle, his interest in designer fashion, women's clothing, and bondage-related material was discussed openly. These subjects attracted enormous media attention, but the court repeatedly stressed an important point: personal interests. do not explain a death, nor do they prove criminal involvement. They were pieces of context, not conclusions. Then came the coroner's findings. After reviewing all the available evidence, Dr. Fiona Wilcox concluded that Gareth Williams had most likely been unlawfully killed. She stated that the scenario in which Gareth had locked himself inside the bag alone was highly improbable. The totality of the evidence, in her view, pointed toward the involvement of another person. It was a remarkable conclusion, because the Metropolitan Police did not agree. Investigators accepted that the circumstances were deeply unusual, but they maintained that there was insufficient evidence to identify a killer or prove beyond doubt that another person had been involved. The disagreement between the coroner and the police became one of the defining features of the case. So, what theories remain today? Theory 1. A tragic accident. Supporters believe Gareth voluntarily entered the holdall during a private confined space exercise or bondage-related activity. The lack of forced entry, the absence of clear defensive injuries, and no confirmed evidence of another person's presence are often cited in support. But critics point to the failed reconstruction experiments, the locked bag, and the missing fingerprints. If Gareth acted alone, how exactly did he complete the final steps? Theory 2. Murder. Supporters argue that Gareth may have been incapacitated before being placed inside the bag. The coroner's conclusion lends weight to this possibility. So too does the extraordinary difficulty of recreating the scene. However, this theory also has significant weaknesses. No confirmed suspect has ever been identified. No DNA has publicly linked another individual to Gareth's death. No witness reported seeing suspicious visitors entering or leaving the flat. And despite years of investigation, no one has been charged. Theory 3. Espionage. Because Gareth worked for GCHQ and MI6, speculation about foreign intelligence agencies emerged almost immediately. Some commentators suggested Gareth may have uncovered sensitive information. Others proposed retaliation by hostile states. The names of Russia and other foreign intelligence services frequently appeared in media reports. Yet, no official investigation has produced publicly available evidence supporting those claims. No declassified documents, no forensic findings, and no witness testimony has directly connected Gareth's death to espionage. Today, this remains the most sensational theory, but also the least supported by publicly available evidence. More than a decade later, the investigation continues to leave one unavoidable conclusion. Almost everyone agrees that the circumstances were extraordinary. But beyond that, agreement begins to disappear. Was it an accident? A carefully executed murder? Or something investigators have never even considered? Perhaps only one person ever knew the answer, and that person never left the bathroom alive. In the final chapter, we'll examine what has happened since the inquest, whether advances in forensic science could still solve the case, the unanswered questions that continue to trouble investigators, and why Gareth Williams remains one of Britain's most baffling unexplained deaths. More than 15 years have now passed, yet the death of Gareth Williams remains officially unresolved. No arrests, no criminal charges, no definitive explanation, only a collection of facts, and a mystery that continues to divide investigators. Following the inquest, the Metropolitan Police continued reviewing evidence. Forensic techniques improved. DNA analysis became increasingly sophisticated. Items recovered from Gareth's flat were re-examined. Investigators revisited witness statements, reviewed timelines, and assessed whether modern technology might reveal something that had previously gone unnoticed. Despite these efforts, no breakthrough was publicly announced, no new suspect was identified, and none of the existing theories could be proven beyond reasonable doubt. For Gareth's family, the uncertainty has been one of the hardest parts of the case. His parents repeatedly challenged the idea that his death resulted from a private sexual experiment. They argued that public attention had become focused on Gareth's personal life, rather than on discovering who or what had caused his death. They maintained that Gareth was a dedicated mathematician, a loyal public servant, and a son who deserved clear answers. Even today, the unusual circumstances surrounding the case continue to attract renewed interest. Former detectives, forensic specialists, journalists, and intelligence experts still debate the evidence. Some believe the simplest explanation is still the most likely, that Gareth entered the bag himself, and a tragic accident followed. Others argue that the reconstruction failures make that explanation almost impossible to accept. One detail continues to stand out: the scene itself. A locked apartment, a zipped sports holdall, a padlock securing the bag, almost no usable fingerprints, no clear cause of death, and no obvious sign that another person had ever been there. It is a combination of facts that seems to point in two completely different directions at once. The case also serves as a reminder of something often overlooked. Not every mystery ends with a dramatic revelation. Not every investigation uncovers the missing piece. Sometimes, even after years of forensic work, public inquiries, and exhaustive police investigations, the truth remains frustratingly out of reach. So, what are the questions that still matter today? If Gareth entered the bag voluntarily, how did he complete the final steps that experienced investigators struggled to reproduce? If another person was involved, who were they? How did they enter and leave the flat without leaving convincing forensic evidence? Why was nothing stolen? Why was there no confirmed motive? And why has no one ever come forward with information capable of solving the case? Could classified aspects of Gareth's work still be unknown to the public? Possibly. But there is no publicly available evidence demonstrating that his intelligence work caused his death. That distinction is essential. The unanswered questions invite curiosity, but they should never be filled with unsupported speculation. In 2025, the Metropolitan Police confirmed that Gareth Williams's death remains an open, unsolved investigation. Authorities have continued to appeal for anyone with credible information to come forward, although no major public breakthroughs have been announced. The case remains one of Britain's most perplexing unexplained deaths. Gareth Williams dedicated his life to solving problems that few people could even understand. He worked quietly, away from public attention, helping protect his country through mathematics and intelligence. Ironically, the greatest puzzle he ever became part of was his own death. A man trusted with Britain's secrets, found inside a locked bag, in a locked apartment, with no definitive explanation. Was it a tragic accident, a carefully planned homicide, or a mystery whose final answer has yet to be discovered? After all these years, no one can say with certainty. If you found this documentary informative, consider subscribing to Vanished UK for carefully researched documentaries covering unsolved disappearances, unexplained deaths, and the investigations that continue to challenge experts around the world. And if you have an evidence-based perspective on the Gareth Williams case, share it respectfully in the comments below, because sometimes the smallest overlooked detail can change everything.